Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream, and I'm going to do your February the 15th just for today in a meditation. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. I hope you're having a beautiful morning. The title of the meditation is An Awakening of the Spirit. The last thing we expected was an awakening of the Spirit. That is taken from our basic text, page 49. Few of us came to our first Narcotics Anonymous meeting aching to take a personal inventory or believing that a spiritual void existed in our souls. We had no inkling that we were about to embark on a journey which would awaken our sleeping spirits. Like a loud alarm clock, the first step brings us to semi-consciousness. Although at this point, we may not be sure whether we want to climb out of bed or maybe sleep for just 5 more minutes. The gentle hand shaking our shoulders as we apply the second and third steps causes us to stand up, stretch, and yawn. We need to wipe the sleep from our eyes to write the fourth step and share our fifth. But as we work the sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth steps, we begin noticing, a spring in our step and the start of a smile on our lips. Our spirits sing in the shower as we take the 10th and 11th steps. And then we practice the 12th, leaving the house in search of others to awaken. We don't have to spend the rest of our lives in a spiritual coma. We may not like to get up in the morning, but once out of bed, we're almost always glad we did. Just for today, to awaken my sleepy spirit, I will use the 12 steps. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the wee version of the Serenity Prayer, please. Moment of silence now. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. An awakening of the spirit. And it's true, the last thing that any of us expected was an awakening of the spirit. And I can say for myself, I thought my spirit was pretty awake. I was offended if someone suggests that I look like the Walking Dead, or offended if someone laughed at my eclectic mannerisms, spiritually speaking. I was into a little bit of this and a little bit of that, studying that religion, studying that. I had so many different angles I could take a conversation. I was very philosophically charged when you talked about anything spiritual. So for me, I did not expect a spiritual awakening to start taking place. For me, I didn't think that I needed a spiritual awakening. But you know what happened? I began to care more. I came away from lust and started to love more. I started to see that my way of thinking wasn't always the only way of thinking. I was forced in meetings to hear other people share their experience, strength, and hope, and pretend like I was really paying attention, because that's what spiritual people do. They pay attention to other people as they speak. And I got tired of wearing that con artist shawl of mine, that fake it until you make it masquerade of mine. I got fed up with it. I really could care less if anyone else was fed up with it. I had finally gotten to a point where I was fed up with myself. And I found myself intentionally, genuinely, authentically paying attention to other people to see if maybe my judgment was wrong. Maybe there was something that they had to offer me. And as I listened with open ears and an open heart, my heart began to soften, and I began to realize that I had set myself up as a God. I had set myself up as knowing so much more than anyone else. That in fact, I had begun to worship knowledge. So the knowledge coming from anyone else wasn't pertinent or important or would have any impact on my life. I lived this just for today. And the day that I completely came back to life was the day that I did a fifth step at a spiritual retreat of Narcotics Anonymous called We Grow with Love in Milton, Indiana. And when I did that fifth step with that lady, everything about me woke up because there was no longer any bondages of telling lies or trying to make people think I was something that I wasn't. There was one absolute human being in the world besides God that knew everything that there was about me that I thought I would take to my grave. This is a very special just for today in a meditation. And I can tell you, I don't ever remember reading it. That's very unfortunate. I do not ever remember reading this just for today. Oh, there's several that I could rattle off that I remember that I've used to prop up whatever I needed to say over the years. But this one is special. This one is like none other that I have ever read. And I want for you today, I want for you to go back through it. And I want you to see if you can line yourself up with that second paragraph about the first step being like a loud alarm waking you up. And see if whether or not through the steps you're able to identify where you've been, where you are, and where you're planning to go. Have you come out of a spiritual coma? Or are you somewhat still in a spiritual coma because you're resistant to doing the step work? You don't have to be. You do not have to be. You can make a decision any day to change that. And I hope that you would choose to awaken from your sleepiness in a spiritual sense and use these 12 steps, the spiritual principles of them, and apply them in all of your affairs and begin to see the most beautiful version of you come back to life. You've been in the flow of the mighty stream, and I want for you to go out there and flow and do something mighty for yourself. Do something mighty for other people. Let February 15th be the most beautiful day that you have ever lived. You deserve it.